Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Sam here, United People's TV. Thank you all for tuning in 1 hour earlier than usual. I've got to rush off to a hospital. It's not actually rush to a hospital appointment. It's not that bad. But I've got to go to a hospital appointment, hence why I'm an hour early. And I tell you what, it is busy getting all of this ready in the morning, let alone doing that an hour earlier. The podcast is already out. I've got a video ready to record for the lunchtime that I'm going to do after this live show before I drive. Good morning, everyone. All right? We are going to speak through today the 5-1 win, demolition, I would call that, of Chelsea by the under-18s last night in the FA Youth Cup. And, of course, the Chido Obi hat-trick. How could he not speak about the Chido Obi hat-trick, all right? I'm going to do an analysis of that for the lunchtime video. It's a little bit deeper. You can enjoy that as well, hopefully. We'll speak about that. We'll talk through the ongoing Ratcliffe and INEOS conversations and the sentiment among United fans right now, and just kind of the overall feeling towards INEOS, towards Ratcliffe. Andy Mitten posted a video yesterday. Just going to run through what he said. Going to speak about Jesse Lingard sort of snapping back, responding to some fans who were saying that it was him, Pogba and Rashford. Was it him, Pogba and Rashford? I think it was. Who were the reasons behind United's culture changing. I'm going to run through all of it. You're going to let me know what you think in the comments below. And hopefully, this should be a good show. As I said, probably lots of you won't be tuning in because we're an hour earlier, but there's nothing I could do. I've got to leave at 10, so it is what it is. Now, before I start talking about the FA Youth Cup, I want to talk about our game yesterday. That game was peak Barclays. I very much enjoyed that game of football. More to the point, I enjoyed the end of that game of football. Decore going over there. Last game at Goodison. Tarkovsky. Absolute thunderbolt. Absolute thunderbolt. I kind of wish it was offside and it still got given. Just to piss Liverpool off even more. But that was a good end to the game. I enjoyed watching that. And we look at that, you see a 98th minute winner, then 2 red cards, then someone getting sent off. Yeah, Ibuka down there saying proper derby. I think I heard Rio say it in the match commentary as well with Danny McCoist. Kind of a throwback game. But I'll tell you, one thing, right, that Arne Slot and Jurgen Klopp have got in common. How ungraceful they are when anything goes against them. Anything. It's a draw. Well, United were playing long ball. It's a loss. Well, Plymouth were playing long ball like United were. It's a draw here. I don't know what he said. To be fair, the referee performance, if I was a United fan, I'd be pretty pissed about it. But yeah, Arne Slot very much fitting in at Liverpool in that sense. I've just got to hope that somehow Liverpool don't win it from this point, which seems very unlikely because who's going to chase them? Well, Arsenal. Oh, great. Havertz is out for the season. Well done, lads. They can nail the January transfer window. I think they're going to win it from this point. No, the clock hasn't gone forward, Ian. I've got an appointment. I had to come here an hour earlier. It is what it is. It's going to be a shorter show here today. Probably 30 to 40 minutes because I've then got to record a video before I leave. So it's a very, very busy morning here. And I've already got the podcast done as well. Who came up with the idea of doing live shows in the morning and doing podcasts in the morning? It'd be nice to stay in bed. It is what it is. I do enjoy it. Now, I want to speak about something. Yesterday was the latest video from the United People's Productions line. And this is something that I've wanted to do for a while. A video on Marcus Rashford. It felt like the right time to do it. And I knew what the reaction was going to be like. Was it more than I expected in the comments? I'm not sure. Hardly anybody watched it, which I expected. Mounts, not Rashy again. It's like, go away, man. Seriously. This story deserved to be told properly in one concise video. And if you don't think it's, oh, I don't want to hear about this, don't want to hear about anything that he's done, I want to hear about any good, nah, sod that, gone, done. Fair enough. I felt that video deserved to be told. I'm very happy that we did it. I actually think as a production, it's probably one of the best that we've done as a team. And now we move forward. But that video for me was necessary as a marker. Right? No, jeez. I don't know what. How is it that people, I suppose people tune in random times of the show, don't they? I'm here an hour earlier because it's a hospital appointment I've got to go to, all right? Last time I'll say that. And then you get from one Rashford celebration to another Rashford celebration. And we talk about that performance last night, not just from Chido Obi, but from United's under-18s. That was a big game for them yesterday. Last season, they won the treble. The one cup that eluded it, that eluded the team, was the FA Youth Cup. And last night they played Chelsea, who, of course, they played in the national final last season. They were the best team from the National Under-18s League South. And they absolutely demolished them. It was kind of like men against boys. And they were 1-0 down as well. United dominant for the first 15, 20 minutes. Hit on the counter-attack, conceded a goal. Think, oh, okay, this kind of feels like it felt like they played City the other week and they got absolutely spanked, actually. But after that, they were phenomenal. And it's not just about the hat-trick from Chido, and I'll speak about that in a second, all right? It was just the overall team performance, whether it was Camerson at right-back, and I'll cover this in more detail in the video. It's going to go out at lunchtime today. Camerson at right-back, James Scanlon getting a couple of goals, then like Monroe and Armour as the two centre-backs, and then you got Jack and Tyler Fletcher, the twins, and then you had Bianchetti coming back into it, and then off the bench you had Lacey, and you had Ibrahimov, and you had Thwaites. There's so much quality in this team, it's ridiculous. As for Chido, he grabbed himself a hat-trick yesterday. And you can let me know what you think about Chido in the comments. I've already done a video that summarised his season so far. How has he played since he joined United? What are the positives? What are the things that he's really developed in? And last night was just like a proper goal-scoring display. 3 really good strikers' finishes. From the first one, which was a ball over the top from Camerson, it's one of those finishes where you watch it back and you go, oh, that was easy. But it's only easy because he made it look easy. Good finish. Second goal, good run to the front post. First time finish. And the second one, again, it was kind of smart play. I'll analyse him a little bit more. But he was fantastic, and as were all the other players. Our under-18s are in such a healthy position. Like when you look at that game yesterday, for example, and you looked at the starting 11, as I said, like look at the size of them at the back. The Fletcher twins, Dan Armour, there's Chido over there. Is that Monroe? I think that's Monroe. They're men. They are big. And then the smaller framed players like Bianchetti and Scanlon. No, so that's, I don't know why, that's Harry Amas. That's Bianchetti over there. And that's Scanlon. They've got like tenacity about themselves. They really, really put themselves about. And as a collective unit, it was fantastic. Now, let me know where you stand. I don't know. Look, scoring a hat-trick against Chelsea's under-18s in the FA Youth Cup, I don't think changes a conversation. Would it accelerate a conversation? I mean, possibly. Darren Fletcher was watching in the crowd. Jason Wilcox was watching in the crowd, and so was Christopher Vavell. So they'll be taking their feedback and their notes to Ruben Amorim, and no doubt he'll be watching the highlights anyway, or maybe like the 20 minutes, or maybe the whole thing. Don't know. Where do you stand on Chido? Because it was really impressive from him. Now, interestingly, the next game for the under-18s in the FA Youth Cup, it's Arsenal. So Chido's going back to Arsenal on the 8th of March, I think. And I can't wait to watch that game. If you go to Chido's Instagram post from the game yesterday, you'll look at it. There's so many angry Arsenal fans underneath it. Of course, Gabriel Jesus is out. Kai Havertz is out. Martinelli is out. They're in desperate need of a striker. And they're like, oh, he's made such a mistake. Oh, I bet he wishes he didn't do that. And then Chido's popping that up on Instagram yesterday. He loves Manchester. Even Manchester United right now. Manchester United's senior team was a really bad environment. It really is. Just kind of the senior side of the football club is a bad environment. But the under-18s, it must have been an absolute blast for him to be with the under-18s this season. Up until the City game, they hadn't lost. They had played 11. They had won 11 games. He had played a couple of times with the under-21s. He played with the under-19s, who I think lost to AZ Alkmaar in the UEFA Youth League. But he's getting experience. He's working with higher-ups. Let me see what you're saying in the comments. Stephen's saying under-18s were class. They were class. Alex is saying Chido has definitely got some good movement. The question is whether he can step up. I mean, you won't know. Nobody will know. I'm still more hesitant to bring him into the first team environment than I am desperate to see United having a sort of a new goal scorer in and around the first team. I'm still so hesitant on it. However, if you're scoring hat-tricks like that and you're playing like that, players do get accelerated through the ranks. It happens. When we signed Chido, we knew he was a lethal goal scorer. That was a real, just really impressive performance, I think, from him yesterday, goal scoring wise, anyway. Let's find out what happens. As I said, I'm going to do more of an analysis on that performance last night. Not just of Chido, but also of James Scanlon, of Camerson, of the Fletcher twins. The under-18s are in such a good position, man. That's what I mean. Like, that's why he's saying he loves this club. Because right now, who wouldn't love playing for United's under-18s? They won the treble last year. They won 11 on the spin in the league until they lost to City the other week. But still could well win the league again. And they're stomping it there, beating Chelsea 5-1 the FA Youth Cup. Must be a vibe. What are the probabilities that he will make at least one appearance this season, says Finn? I think he probably will. Detwork is saying Chido Obi, not just Chido. I think, was it him that said that he doesn't like Chido Obi-Martin? I don't particularly know exactly why that is. But yeah, it is Chido Obi. Tyler saying, why can't we give him the chance even if it's for 10-15 minutes at the end of the game? Well, Tyler, typically, how many games have we seen as United fans where we're in such a safe position that the last 10 to 15 minutes of the game is where you can play an academy player? That's what Fergie used to do all the time. Well, that's just what United were able to do. But we haven't been able to do it in a long time. Really. Sneaky Squid saying, need to watch the U18s. Probably won't need a packet of Rennie. It's true. Watching the under-18s has been really enjoyable over the last couple of seasons. And there is so much quality there. If you look at as I said, that like Jim Thwaite's coming off the bench. And you've got Ibrahimov as well. Both 16, I think. And you've got Shea Lacey, Shea Lacey is a player who, if you ask anybody who has been following the academy teams for a long time, last few years, Shea Lacey will be a name that just keeps repeating and repeating. Because he's got so much natural talent with the ball at his feet. Really, like a proper graceful dribbler, can skip past players. Technically, way above so many people around him, but he has had absolutely abysmal injury problems in these last 2 seasons. Last season, he missed a majority of the season with injuries. This season, he's missed a fair amount through injuries, and he's coming back into the environment now. I'm looking forward, fingers crossed, like touch wood, everyone, for Shea Lacey to actually stay fit. And unfortunately, now we have to talk about the senior team. And more to the point, we'll talk about Ratcliffe, INEOS, the finances, and the conversations that are existing among United fans right now. Because sentiment towards this man, right, is really trending downwards among United fans. When he came in and there was goodwill, there was simply for the fact that it felt like it was the first step towards the Glazers not being involved. It feels like a lot of that has been eroded by what's happened since. I want to quickly pull up a little clip here. This is from a video that Andy Mitten did. I'll leave the link in the script. I'll drop it in the chat now, actually. That's a link to the United We Stand YouTube channel down there, right? I'm subscribed. Come on, obviously. But just a little clip here from Andy on kind of United at this moment in time.
So I think we're on a really bumpy road at the moment, and I think it's going to continue to be like that. And the optimism in me hopes that this will lead to a brighter future, said on a cold January night. But the realist in me knows that it's really tough because opponents are really good as well, and they all want to be the best team as well, and they all want to push towards European football or Champions League qualification. Baffles me that players who are really good internationals are struggling so much, and the confidence is low. I know it's low. I speak to people, and I hope that it changes. And if there's a bit of desperation in my voice, it's because it is desperate at times. And
it is desperate. That is the only way to describe it. Oh yeah, by the way, if you, this is just a plug for me because I read it all the time. Subscribe to United We Stand, man. What Andy has done in his career is fantastic, and this is a massive part of it. So if you want to support United We Stand, you can go subscribe to the mag. That's what I do anyway. You just get it through the post. It's really handy. But if it feels like, to me, JC, by the way, I can see you gifting 20 memberships there. You're absolute legend. Thank you for supporting and helping me. In the same way I'm encouraging you to go and do the same thing to United We Stand, you can, it's important to have voices that you trust in and around the club that you love. Andy Mitten is one of those, and I like to think that I'm one of those for quite a few of you. I think so anyway. Maybe not. But back to the Ratcliffe situation in INEOS. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but it feels like a lot of the anger I'm seeing from anybody who really hates INEOS right now is the fact that this is the argument. Jim Ratcliffe enabled the Glazers to stay. If Jim Ratcliffe didn't enable the Glazers to stay, they would have sold to the Qataris, and Man United would be debt-free, and everything would be incredible. Sorry, I keep sniffing, by the way. I need to blow my nose. I didn't. Is that what the general consensus is? I'm opening this up to the floor here, because that's what it looks like from me, just kind of taking it in and reading and seeing everything that people are saying. It's the fact that Ratcliffe is another Glazer because he's enabled them to stay, and had he not been here, the Glazers would have been forced to sell, and they would have been forced to sell to the Qataris. Despite the fact that we all know that the Glazers were just pulling numbers out of their head. what was it, 8 billion? Somewhere between 6 and 8 billion. I don't know. Nobody actually knew the exact price. But whatever it was, the Qataris didn't offer it. Whatever it was, INEOS weren't going to offer it. I'm going to go down here and read some of the comments, right? It's just such a testing time right now. You got this report coming from Jamie Jackson. We're best buds now. Talking about the cuts, talking about the money that went in from him directly. Again, that's one thing that will always immediately completely separate Jim Ratcliffe from anything that the Glazers have ever done. He's put in $300 million of his own money. And the Glazers have put in a grand total. And it's not even, it sounds mad when you say this, like it's an exaggeration. Like, oh, you're just lying, you're just ignoring it. They have put a total of $0 and 0 cents. Absolutely nil. Nothing. Nada. Not even a penny of their own money into our football club. Ever in 20 years. Hence why our cash got pillaged after COVID. And had that money from Ratcliffe not gone in, I imagine we definitely would have breached PSR rules. But it's that's what it feels like to me. The sentiment towards Ratcliffe is the fact that had he not given them the 27% outlet, that the Glazers would have been forced to sell. You know what I think they would have done? I don't think they would have sold. I think they would have just dragged this club into the ground until somebody gave them what they wanted. Because we were at that point prior to INEOS coming in. It strikes me how stubborn and how unbelievably selfish the Glazers are. It strikes me that they probably would have just... They would rather have taken... This is my opinion here. I think it feels like the Glazers would have rather taken us to the point of financial ruin than sell for cheaper than they wanted to get. They would have accepted like PSR breaches. They would have accepted points deductions. They would have accepted this and they would have accepted that. And they would have ignored everything that anybody ever said until somebody came in and gave them the money that they wanted. I don't care if it's not worth that much. No, I don't care. Don't show me the proof. Don't show me the numbers. Don't show me the revenues. Don't show me the debt. Just give me the money I want. I honestly think that they would have done that rather than sell United at a lesser price in full. Now, I can't prove that. And that's just my own, I suppose, opinion on there. But I'm not exactly going to sit here and pretend that I'm not concerned about INEOS. All right? That I'm not concerned about Ratcliffe, and in particular, Brailsford. Brailsford's always been the person that I've been most worried about, most concerned about in terms of how involved he is. Now, Jim Ratcliffe is more involved than I thought he would be. And I don't like that either. And then, of course, there's red flags now coming out. I found this one a little bit strange, right? So, a couple of credit agencies, I think big credit agencies in the world, have downgraded INEOS's credit rating, which now means it's harder for them to borrow money. Now, I'm going to because I haven't looked into the INEOS numbers, right? I haven't looked into why they have debt. I'm going to presume that is linked to like them building factories and building assets, and they do that. They finance that with debt and loans rather than paying for it in cash. Presuming so. But in terms of finances, right? This is INEOS. 3 months ended in September 2024. Am I reading this correctly? I think I am. 4.2 billion in revenue and profit of 282 million. So they're not exactly in debt in terms of how much money they're making, but they might be in terms of what they've been building. Either way, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand and say that I'm not worried about what's going on right now. Because of course I am. I didn't expect INEOS to come into Manchester United to wave a magic wand and for everything to be rosy, shiny and perfect from the beginning. I knew how bad our finances were. Well, I thought I did. Honestly, I think United's finances are worse than I ever imagined. And I expected cuts. I expected about 20-25% of the workforce to be reduced. I thought that was an inevitability. You're looking at Manchester United having the single biggest workforce out of any football club in the entire country, and you compare that to results and output, and it didn't match up. From an efficiency perspective, it was obvious that our football club was bloated. Now, of course, that's going to cause human casualties as a consequence, and that is shit. But our football club has lost money 5 years in a row. Show me any other business. Like, I don't know, say you and your partner. You go into business with your brother. You and your mates, you do a startup company. Good luck that business existing in 5 years' time if you've made loss after loss after loss after loss after loss. You wouldn't be there as a business anymore. The only reason that United were able to prop up those losses is because of the cash that we had in reserve and the credit card that we had. When that cash eventually got dwindled as a consequence of the losses, and we reached a peak where we couldn't spend any more on the credit card, we reached that point. I'm going to go down and see what you're saying in the comments. If INEOS pulled out the deal with New Zealand, what's stopping them selling their shares? I imagine a lot more legislation. We saw how complicated and how long this deal took to actually go through. I imagine there'll be a lot more rules to do with that. I need to probably try and speak to somebody, because if I go back into looking at these sort of SEC filings, and I'll just lose my mind again. I'll be interested to know what kicks in properly, like to understand it, what kicks in at 18 months. So I think it was to do with the drag-along clauses. So if the Glazers got a massive offer now, they could drag INEOS into selling their shares as part of that. I don't know what else kicks in. Richie is saying INEOS are doing exactly what's needed. Some won't like it. Fact is, it's these seriously tough decisions that need to be made. It's not a quick fix. It's INEOS and Ratcliffe are taking a lot of the bullets that the Glazers never took and the Glazers hid away from. INEOS and Ratcliffe are also taking bullets for guns they've loaded themselves. Both of these things are true at the same time. All right? And the Glazers have it's like the perfect situation for them. To have someone who is the shield that is actually making decisions as a consequence of their negligible management of our club. But I don't know where does it end, right? So I think someone correctly informed me that it was in round about February last year where they were officially ratified. So it's been 12 months. What happens in the next 6 months? Well, realistically, between now and the end of the season, nothing's going to change. You might see what could possibly change to do with the Glazers and INEOS and Ratcliffe. You might see United sign a sporting director, maybe. That could possibly happen. I'm not sure whether they will. We've been linked with, Mikel Gonzalez from Athletic Club. So they might replace Dan Ashworth. That could happen. In terms of other changes behind the scenes, you probably get the you'll get the cuts announced. That will happen. And there's nothing that can rule out potentially more cuts after that. I imagine, well, actually, there was, in the BBC yesterday, there was a suggestion that INEOS will close Manchester United's London offices, which I think are in Knightsbridge, again, in order to save money. And the main reason that United have got an office in London, Mayfair, Knightsbridge, but no matter where it is, and our offices in London are there for marketing purposes, to sit there and to have conversations with the biggest brands in the world to sort the biggest deals. I imagine INEOS have got some form of an office, something there, so it probably just get downgraded to that. That could save a little bit of money here or there. The real big test. There's two things. Lyle, you've just correctly reminded me of the second one. The two real big tests that are coming up are what happens in the summer. Right? The summer's going to be... You know how people say every summer, this feels like the biggest window in X. It's because they follow on from each other. This will be the biggest window that I can remember in a long time, because it has to be a window where United sell Marcus Rashford and get money in, where we get rid of Casemiro, where Eriksen leaves, where Luke Shaw leaves, where Victor Lindelof leaves, where Johnny Evans' contract runs out. He'll probably stay at the club. But so many high-paid passengers at this football, finding a permanent exit for Anthony. All of these have to happen. It's like a non-negotiable now that we find that, and we absolutely take a hammer to our wage bill. Probably, I think it's fair, like biggest window and most important window. I think probably most important window. So in terms of what happens in the summer is a huge thing, but then this is the big elephant in the room. Well, there's two of them, actually. The debt and what goes on there. It's kind of been brushed over up until this point. It's kind of been not ignored, but kicking the can down the road. And we know why. Because the Glazers still own the majority of Manchester United. So why are INEOS going to pay off the debt of the football club when there's no guarantee that they are going to own the football club at the end of paying that debt off? Now, you can use that as a stick to beat INEOS with if you want to, because the Qataris would have paid it off. Yeah, the Qataris that didn't put up enough money to buy the club in the first place, and the Qataris who didn't prove enough proof of funds. Yeah, good, those ones. But clearing that debt changes everything, this club, really. Was it 60 million every year that's gone out on interest-free payments? So that's a huge one. And number two, and this is the fear, this is the big fear. And what a time to have just kind of like take a step back and think about this. At a time when our football club we're literally cutting charity contributions to save tens of thousands of pounds. That's how granular the cuts are going. And at a time when we are doing that, and at a time where our club nearly went into PSR breaches because of a lack of finances, we are talking about building the single most expensive stadium that there's ever been in the UK as part of a regeneration project, which would be one of the biggest that's ever happened in the UK. Do you know how much those two things don't match up? At a time where United are financially our least secure that we've been is a time where we are about to commit to spending the most money we ever have on building assets, on building a new stadium, because that will be the option, and it's crazy when you really think about that, and that is probably what I'm most scared about. What that stadium will mean, because I fear a period of austerity again. Arsenal did it after they built the Emirates, Spurs, and they did it for a while as well. It typically follows a pattern. When infrastructure is built, when new stadiums are built, clubs sort of pull back on spending because they need to put money elsewhere. I mean, how are we going to pay for that stadium, right? Someone's saying that, Sam, what's the alternative? It's just the timing of it. It's just the timing. Chris is saying, will most of it be paid by sponsors and the government? Remember that the government aren't paying anything towards a stadium. Not one penny. They'll be paying as part of the regeneration project. They'll probably help with the train station and repurposing that train station to become a passenger station, which will therefore help transport for all of Manchester, transport in the UK, and also rail transport for freight when they move that to, was it Parkway and St Helens? They'll put up some money there. But they won't put money towards a stadium. That stadium's going to have to be funded by United. That will be funded by, and again, people are going to piss and moan about it. It will be a stadium presented by X, Snapdragon, presented by Apple. That will reduce the debt on our football club, but you lose a little bit of the football club as a consequence. Times will get better at United. I've got absolutely no doubt. But it's not infighting. It's just it's all born from the same frustration. We're 13th in the league. I'm bored as hell of seeing Liverpool and City and Arsenal fight for the title, whilst we sit there and twiddle our thumbs. Look, I'm going to wrap that one up for today because I've got to go, basically. But I do think that, I don't know what I think, really. I just want it to be the Spurs game, and I want us to beat Spurs. I want us to actually play like we've trained for a week. I want us to see a noticeable difference on the pitch, because as soon as we start playing properly on the pitch, I'm telling you people, the amount of eyeballs and scrutiny on the negative things of the club, it just will diminish in a direct parallel with United becoming better as a football team. Everyone's going to have less energy for all of this stuff. Just okay, that's an opinion. I might be wrong. That's how I feel. All right. Thank you all for tuning in an hour earlier today. I really, really appreciate it. I will be back tomorrow, normal time. It's Friday, map day. I'm going to try now and record a video in the next 10 minutes before I do scoot. So thank you all for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow. And yeah, take it easy.